All right, so I want to talk about food. If you're like me, you love food. In fact, if you're like 80% of Americans, actually no, the number is 68% of Americans. If you're the same as 68% of Americans, you actually might love food a little bit too much. 68% of Americans are actually obese. That means we like to eat more than we like to exercise. We like to eat more than we like to be healthy. Let's just face it, we like to eat. And if you're like me, maybe food had become an obsession for you one time or other in your life. If you're the same as 80%, 86% of the teenage girls in America, you may have one time or another had an eating disorder. I know personally I started my first diet in 4th grade. I was convinced that it was the cool thing to do and to lose those 5 pounds was really important. 4th grade, mind you. This means I was probably about 11 years old. As I got older, this obsession just got worse and worse until I got to high school, those very influential years until I became very obsessed with food. It led to very destructive behaviors. Maybe you can relate. Binge eating, gaining weight, gaining weight, losing weight, but never quite being under control, feeling obsessed with it, maybe even eating in secret. Do any of these behaviors you can relate to? I think most of us can. In fact, in my family, eating disorders go back 4 generations. I did not know this until I got one of my own just to find out, woohoo, you're part of the family now. And this is something common. Many of us are taught to eat when we're happy by our family. Maybe you get together with your family and it's this huge function of food. I just remember it was the fun thing to do to get together and eat until you were absolutely sick. This is very common in our culture, and many cultures, that food becomes a symbol of joy. It becomes a symbol of depression, and our bodies are victims of this tradition. They kind of lay by the wayside in this idea of gaining pleasure, not thinking of the consequences. It wasn't until luckily someone helped me stop my destructive behavior before it came too bad. And so if you're watching this, I hope to be able to help you stop yours. Either if you're eating too much, eating too little, or just not eating the right kind of food. It all stems from this idea of lacking of love for your body. Your body is the only body you'll ever get. Imagine someone came to you when you were young at 16 and they gave you a Lamborghini. And this was the most beautiful Lamborghini that you could possibly imagine. But they told you, this is the only car you're ever going to receive. You're never going to get another car. How would you treat that Lamborghini? You'd give it the proper oil changes. You'd park it in the garage. You make sure that it was in best condition because that is the only nice car you will ever have. Or let's say if you had a racehorse, and this racehorse you spent $5 million on, would you ever deprive this racehorse of sleep? Would you ever give it the wrong kind of foods? No. You've invested too much in it. And this is just a horse. Aren't you more valuable than that Lamborghini? Aren't you more valuable than a racehorse? Don't you deserve to treat yourself with the same respect you would treat such a prized possession? So I want to go over with you today just one simple tool that helped me. It helped me completely change my life. I haven't dieted in over 2 years. It feels fantastic. And yet I've been able to maintain a very healthy weight. In fact, the healthiest I've ever been at. And I've been able to run a marathon. I've been able to train for a triathlon. I've been able to enjoy my life and not have to think, okay, what I'm going to eat tomorrow. What did I eat yesterday? It's freeing, it's liberating. And very simply, it's write a love letter. Every item of food you put into your mouth is writing a letter to yourself. If you're putting spinach in your mouth, you might pretend that that's a love letter saying, wow, thank you for taking so much good care of me. You look fantastic today. When you put that extra cheesecake in there, what kind of letter are you writing? It's probably a little bit of a hate letter saying, wow, why would you betray me like that? How could you put this garbage in your mouth? And mind you, I'm not against eating sweets. Like any friends, I like to allow my friends once in a while just to goof off and have a good time. Occasionally, those kind of sweets, occasionally those kind of little indulgences are actually really good for you and good for your balance. It's just when it becomes a continuous habit. It's not about being obsessive. So next time you eat a meal, think, okay, what kind of letter would this be? Maybe it would just be a boring letter. Maybe it's not healthy, it's not unhealthy, but it's just pretty boring. Maybe you're eating white bread or anything along the lines. What message are you sending yourself? So think about this. Take that challenge. I give you the challenge that for 1 week, Pretend like everything you're eating is a letter. You can make up words. You can give your food an accent. I don't care. And just make it real for you. Make it something fun for you. I don't recommend writing down everything you're eating. That's obsessing over it. Whatever you focus on grows. So if I'm obsessing over food, it's growing. But if I allow it to be an expression of how I love myself, then it becomes a healthy part of life. I promise you, as you do this, your habits will naturally change because I've seen it not only in my life, but in my students' lives. I want you to see your own results and maybe take note. You know, if you're already eating a certain lifestyle, start thinking, okay, what kind of letters have I been sending myself? And ask yourself, am I okay with that? I promise you, as your love letters start to get more romantic and sweet, you'll feel the difference. You'll love the difference. And you'll be amazed of how beautiful and empowered you feel, or how handsome and strong you feel. If you're a man, that's all right too. This still works for men as well. I've had men use this many a time. So there's your challenge. Go out there and feel the difference.